Greetings, Internet. I'm John Bailey, the Popcorn Junkie, and was the Tom Clancy name ever actually a sign of quality, or has it always been generic action schlock? This one completely skirted under my radar. I had no idea we had a new Tom Clancy movie with Michael B. Jordan coming from Amazon, though I did know about the Jack Ryan series they were doing. Apparently the story is actually the origin of the main character from the Rainbow Six game series, which themselves were also from Tom Clancy's books. Now, this may just be me, but I never got Clancy's appeal. I missed out on the original Jack Ryan series of movies where they constantly had him recast every single time. You know, things like The Hunt for Red October or The Sum of All Fears, Clear and Present Danger, I think was one. So my introduction to Clancy was the series of games, Rainbow Six, that Ubisoft would regularly pump out. And all I got from that is that Clancy wrote generic action fodder. That last Jack Ryan movie didn't help, the one with Chris Pine, if you forgot about it. And I never really cared to try and check out the John Krasinski Amazon series. From what I got from Clancy, he's the kind of author that people's dads or uncles would be into, writing for older men. It just wasn't for me. As for this movie, we get the origin of the character of John Clark, who's featured as the supporting character in some of the Jack Ryan series, and as the main character of the Rainbow Six series. In this adaptation, Clark, originally named John Kelly, led a team to retrieve a CIA agent originally believed to be held by ISIS, only to be revealed to be held by Russian FSB operatives, FSB being the successor to the KGB. After returning home, Kelly's entire team gets hunted down and killed, his pregnant wife dies when they come for him, and their whole operation was leaked to the public. Kelly survives and wants revenge, getting a name from a Russian diplomat before killing him. Kelly is briefly sent to prison, but uses the name he got as leverage to get out. Despite him being clearly unfit for duty, the Secretary of Defense, played thanklessly by Guy Pearce, lets him on the mission to retrieve this agent behind the killing, where it's revealed that the agent was not the mastermind, but just another pawn in the scheme, with Kelly and the Special Ops team being there in Russia to die and fuel a conflict between the US and Russia. They manage to escape, and Kelly gets a confession from Guy Pearce that it was all part of a massive conspiracy before killing him. Kelly is presented as dead and gets this new identity of John Clark, and we end with a mid-credits scene teasing a sequel where they form Rainbow Six. I will give the movie two things. One, Michael B. Jordan is trying at points. This isn't his meatiest role. John Kelly is so generically written here that he could be played by pretty much anybody, but Jordan is trying at points here. He doesn't suck, and I don't think I've ever seen him outright suck in a movie, so at least he's here. The second thing is the action isn't that bad. If you're into shooting-based action, I'm particularly not, but the fights here aren't awful. They're not amazing by any means, but it's like one of the Rainbow Six games was made into a movie. So if you're into that sort of thing, you got that here. Where this movie falters is in everything else. This movie is so basic, it wears Ugg boots and orders pumpkin spice lattes. The dialogue feels like it was auto-generated. The plot is paint by numbers and completely predictable. But that could also be because this story is from 1993. So that means we've had almost 30 years of action movies using these same beats over and over again, and nobody thought to update it besides making the first enemy ISIS and updating it to the FSB. Plus, the entire rest of the cast is completely forgettable. Guy Pearce is in a glorified cameo and adds nothing. Jamie Bell is in a generic role and completely forgettable. And the rest of the cast add nothing to their roles. They're complete nobodies. Nothing. You will remember nobody from this movie besides Michael B. Jordan. And yeah, with Jordan being the only standout, he still has nothing to work with. The character of John Clark here is presented as, boring meathead, except played by Michael B. Jordan. The thing is, I have to question how this plot is exactly supposed to work. I've seen this a bunch of times, so this isn't a problem with just this movie, but in every single plot like this. I mean, you've already got the fact that conspiracies like this are already destined to fall apart because of how many people are involved, but how do writers think this whole conspiracy would work? Pierce admits in the movie that the country is divided against itself, but how would a new Cold War with Russia help? Hell, by most accounts, we never actually ended the Cold War with Russia. It just got really super cold. Plus, we got the added effect of China as another Cold War proxy to the mix. How would increased conflict with Russia help us as a nation unite against them when it hasn't helped us in the last 30 years since the end of the Soviet Union? Not to mention the fact that we have China as a cold enemy now. This, like, during World War II and the 50s, having that common enemy did unite us. But after the Vietnam War, decades of politicizing media in the name of profits, and not to mention the war on terror, the Iran-Contra affair, all these sorts of other things, us being at odds with Russia is not going to unite us. We divided ourselves. Having an outside enemy is not going to unite us. Not to mention the fact that we just had a president who was so cushy with Russia that people just considered him a Russian asset, and his supporters never once questioned it. Starting a new Cold War with Russia would probably end up with whole swaths of people inadvertently siding with Russia. Whether it's the fact that it stays too close to a 30-year-old story or the whole generic aspect to the filmmaking, this movie doesn't work. Some streaming originals are good enough to be shown on the big screen, The Mitchells versus the Machines being one of them, but this is direct-to-video quality for the most part. If it wasn't for already being shown at home, I'd tell you to wait and see it at home. And if you do have Amazon Prime, don't go into this expecting much and you might get something out of it. Besides that, there's just way better stuff you could be watching on Amazon. Hell, the Jack Ryan series on Amazon is probably better than this. There's no reason for you to watch this movie. Until next time, I'm John Bailey, and if this ends up not getting a sequel after that Avengers Initiative moment in the mid-credits, I am going to laugh my ass off.